Episode number 237 with Daniel Garcia and Aaron Lamar. Welcome to the Heads Up Poker Podcast. This is Steve Barton, and thank you for tuning in. Soon to be the Stevie B Show. I'm here right now with Daniel Garcia. Daniel, thanks for coming back on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Steve. Always.
Yes. This is fun. I got a feeling we're going to do many more of these in the future.
Depends how many lap dances you can get me.
Well, if we're south of the border, I can afford quite a few more, my friend.
Wow, you've piqued my interest.
Yes.
Well, I'm locked and loaded, ready to go for you, Steve. Got my pour over. We're good.
Right on. Good deal. You got your coffee, the pour over. I got to experience the pour over when I was up at your house last weekend.
Oh, yes, you did. Making shitty coffee tastes good every day.
Yes. I think you pulled out the Folgers or something, and I was a little...
It was U-Ban.
Oh, it was U-Ban. Okay, I was doubting a little bit because I'm kind of a coffee snob. You know, I get the beans, I grind them myself. You know, Jamaican Blue Mountain stuff, and you.
I totally get it. Pea berry, Kona. I'm with you, but you know, it's we got to buy in bulk, man.
Yeah. But yeah, it was good. It was good.
Yeah. No. I'm on the U-Ban right now. I mean, it's crap. I do the good stuff on the weekends, just the crappy stuff during the week. That's just how it is.
Yes. I feel like we're hiding our lead here. We got Aaron Lamar. You met. He's one of your jiu-jitsu buddies, and when I went up last weekend, you guys were both celebrating because you got your blue belt. And somehow I think you introduced me as the guy I do stocks with. And he's all, really? I do day trading. And from there, we talked for about 45 minutes straight until the fourth person in the group hadn't said a word. And he's like, you know what, guys, I got to go. We talked for another 2 hours after that just about stocks. And I think you brought it up. You're like, we got to get him on the show.
Yeah.
I'm all,
we do. Yeah, I'm like, this guy's been beating the shit out of me for months now. I'm like, we've just been choking each other out for the past 6 months. I didn't even know what he did.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's got his own site that basically you can watch the stocks and you can set all these indicators so that the software lets you know when is a good time to buy and when is a good time to sell. And you can set these indicators up. And he walked me through it about an hour ago, 20 minutes of just setting up. I set it up for Duke Energy, and it's pretty cool. Because what we're doing is we've got a list of 70 of them, and we're basically clicking through each of them every time we log on to TC 2000 and trying to find one visually. You know, it'd be pretty nice if. Yeah, exactly. It'd be nice if it would just throw up a little alert saying like, "Hey, Dick, now's the time to look at this one." You know?
It's kind of getting that whole screener thing. You know, it's kind of hard to solidify that whole thing. You know, it's not so. It's it's a little bit painful. It's like one step below like water boring.
Yeah.
So no, he's and actually I know his a friend of his who actually told me about this software that I just kind of briefly looked at, and I just didn't have enough time to do so at that time. Was actually through a mutual friend. I kind of knew about the software before, and he would happen to be like, you know, the guy,
the guy that wrote it.
One of the guys. Yeah. And he's which is kind of cool about this is that he's kind of like one of those back end dudes that you just never hear from, you know, or know about, you know, they're writing the code. So he's like basically a software guy, but he writes all the code and the background stuff. So I think it'd be really nice to get his viewpoint, you know, just get a perspective on, you know, that side of things for a lot of people.
Yeah. It's a fun form of gambling. And if you can automate it in any way, which it sounds like he's in some aspects done and still writing software to do it even better. I'm really curious about this. should be a good
Yeah.
good interview. Good interview.
And he's more of a day, he's a little bit more on he kind of likes the day trading as opposed to kind of like, and that's just what he's into. And I think it's kind of nice just to see a different, different viewpoint and kind of how he does things and, how other people do theirs. So he's more of a day trading, so he's kind of in there and, a couple hours in his morning kind of thing. So.
Yeah, I got the impression he gets up before the market opens, and he's one of those guys that just trades in the beginning and then he's out. And sometimes he's trading for less than a minute,
Yeah,
which would
yeah.
fucking terrify me. But it's
that's
what he likes.
Just not really, like I would say, our style. As right now, it's I kind of look at that. It's more of a retirement job.
Yeah. Yeah. But it sounds like the things that he's looking for are the same things that we look for, just over a longer period of time, and
exactly.
I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned there, and yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, well,
we'll go over all the indicators and what we're looking for. Actually, you know what? I've been wanting to talk about Duke because 2 weeks ago you were on and we were talking about buying. We'd either just bought Duke or we were about to buy Duke.
We were about to.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
We were like, hey, we know, because it was an expensive, as far as like stocks are concerned, it was an expensive stock. It was trading around 80, which is, we kind of generally speaking like the lower stuff.
Yeah, $50 and below is kind of our ballpark.
Yeah,
maybe 5% of the time we step out of the window like this. But if you go to just look up Duke Energy, the ticker symbol is DUK, Delta Uniform Kilo. And look over the last 6 months, you'll see that Duke was up around, I don't know, $110 or something just before COVID. And then COVID hit and it did like everything else did, and it went down to 65. Then it went back up to about 90, and it did this Charlie Brown pattern that we're talking about. And, it went up, went from 80 to 90, then back down to 80, and then up to 85, and then down to 80, and then back up to 90. This last little one, where we were talking about it before, it was down around 80. Daniel and I bought it, and we just sold it either yesterday or the day before.
Yesterday. Yeah, we just sold it yesterday.
We sold it yesterday, and it went. It did something unusual, and it after about a month, it went from 80 to 82, and then one morning it just opened up at 87. And so it went up $5. I don't know why it did it. Sometimes these things do this. But we ended up selling it at, I believe, 88. So we bought it at 80, sold it at 88, made 10% in a month. Not long enough to collect a dividend, but still 10% in a month. That's not bad.
No, that was a good, and this was a picturesque, bounce line in your Charlie Brown pattern here, which was awesome. So this lined up really well, which was kind of nice, as we did talk about it before, and we're like, hey, we're buying this is what's happening. Went in, bought it, boom, done, and now we're out. And so off to the next thing, right?
Yeah, and then we basically just watch this, and when it gets back down around 80, which it will probably, it was like a month at a time seems to be the turnover period on this, and I expect sometime at the end of this month or beginning of November, it's going to be back down around 80, and we can rinse and repeat.
Yeah, that would be nice.
It may not, but either way, we're watching 60 or 70 others that are following similar patterns, and we just in and out in the same thing.
Yeah, it could be next year, it could be in a few months, it could be, it's just whenever we see a good setup, then that's where we're going to go in. But it's nice to have a lot of these. So, it's kind of, we have, I would say, what do we have about, how many do you have right now, Steve?
Shit, I don't know, maybe 40 or 30.
Yeah, we're around the same ballpark. Yeah, we're all about the same. So yeah, but it's nice because there's always something going on now, right?
Yeah. Whenever it's down, I look at everything like everything's on sale. Whenever it's up, then I'm like, oh, maybe it's time to sell something.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun game. I remember when I went over to your house, we did a football Sunday, and we had to do it all from bar stools in the kitchen.
Oh yes. Oh God, those damn furniture company. Oh,
now you had a couch, but it didn't quite fit.
A beautiful couch, by the way.
Yeah.
A beautiful couch. It just didn't take up the space. It's like I ate dead space in the corner. So I was like, I can't just put a plant there. I want that to, because it's not this huge living room. So, you know, I want guests come over. I want people to feel comfortable. I need a comfortable couch. So I gave this beautiful couch that it just didn't work. So you know, my cousin, she was moving. I said, hey, take this. I gave it to her like, so cheap. It was practically gave it to her. Anyways, got the new couch, got a modular couch, which modular couch is awesome, by the way. Joe, our friend Joe, he actually has the modular couch. He bought that Joybird couch, which is an awesome couch.
Okay.
So you can kind of fit it, you know, at angles. I mean, all the pieces are only 40 inches basically by 40 inches. So it's all very modular, pillow topped, you know, goose down. So it's a very comfortable setup. So so it's basically a Netflix and chill couch. Let's just put it that way, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so then we gave the couch away. Okay, great.
But you gave it away because you were getting this new badass couch delivered on, you know, like that Friday, right?
Yes, absolutely. I knew you were even coming. I'm like, hey, Steve's going to see my new couch. This is awesome. Everybody's going to just chill the hell out. Didn't come. They're like, yeah, we're going to get you that at the end of October. And I'm like, what? What? You realize the anchor to my ship is gone.
It's the centerpiece of your home.
I know. And now it's like, okay, everybody comes to my place and they hang out on my bar stools like you did. It's terrible. There's nothing worse than not having company, not having a couch. I think that's like, it's like you can't even be accommodating to people. You know, luckily I have a TV in the kitchen, I guess, right? So yeah. I know, you got to have a good couch. That is the ultimate centerpiece of a good front room or living room, right?
Yes, of the home.
Yeah,
I got to experience your baked bacon though. That was, I got to tell you, bro, that was
next level.
Next
level bacon.
Yes.
Yeah, I've tried it barbecue and baked. The best. Yeah, put it on the barbecue. You can do the same kind of process. You just have to watch it a bit more. But the baked bacon, man, there's just, that's pretty much next level bacon right there.
I tried it at work after I tried it with you, because, you know, you got one of those pans and you don't just put it directly in the pan, because then it just bubbles in its own grease and it's kind of, but you lay like a little grate on top of it, you know, so that the grease can go down into the pan, but the bacon stays on top.
Correct.
And I put it in for about 10 minutes on 350, flipped it after 10 minutes, and then let it go another 10 minutes, and then pull it out and just let it, cool off for 5 minutes or so. And just, it was delicious.
Yeah, I think the next time, I want to brush it with like maple syrup or something in there, you know.
That sounds delicious. Yeah.
Some next level bacon. I'm trying to get as high as I can with the bacon, you know. I don't trust people who don't like bacon, for starters, so that's how I manage my friends. I'm like, do you like bacon? They're like, no. I'm like, no, you can't be friends.
I don't trust
I don't trust people who don't like bacon, you know. even all my Jewish friends like bacon. They all like bacon. And if they're telling you they don't, they're completely lying. All Jews like bacon.
Yes, everyone likes bacon. I don't know how you couldn't.
Well, people, it's like mayonnaise, right? Like people say they don't like mayonnaise, but they really like mayonnaise. Like, you know, like how many times you had a burger without the mayo, you know? It's like, I think it's because it's like, it just looks gross, but everybody likes it.
But it really brings the burger from an 8.5 to a 9.5.
It does. It, creates that moisture, I think there's little moisture barriers in there, right?
Yes. And what else did you make? Oh, those cottage cheese waffles were amazing.
Oh, well, that sounds gross, right? I mean,
it does. Like when people are all cottage cheese, what the hell is he talking about? No, I swear to God. Okay, so you got cottage cheese. You put in almond
flour.
Almond flour.
Yeah, almond flour. Yeah, almond flour.
Maybe a little bit of vanilla or something, cinnamon.
Almond flour. Oh, you need the good binder. So I put like a quarter. Sometimes I grind up, but just a little bit of oat in there, just to kind of bind.
Oh, that's
things.
right. Like oatmeal. Yeah,
kind of like they do with like, but just a little. You don't need much because you got the almond flour, but you don't really need too much. It's more kind of like they do that with meatloaf. Kind of make the binder with the oatmeal.
Yeah.
That same kind of concept. concept, I guess. And then, obviously with the eggs as well, a little cinnamon, little, I don't know what else we put in there. Oh, well, we can put, sometimes you can actually add protein powder actually in there as well. So,
Oh, that's right. Yes.
yeah, so all you bodybuilders out there, kind of, gymming it, it's a good way to get some extra protein in there as well. So yeah, and then mix that all up. Actually with the waffles, you can't mix it as much as the pancakes, because you kind of want it a little bit more like batter.
Yeah.
And just get yourself a little $29 waffle maker at Target, and you'll be good to go, man.
Yeah.
So,
it was good. It tasted like a real waffle. It was kind of, it was like a
keto.
Yeah, keto. Yeah. It was
keto
like a
waffles.
cheat day, but it wasn't really a cheat day.
Yeah. You can actually get get all your nice protein, don't feel totally disgustingly sick after you ate a bunch of waffles, like.
Yeah, I didn't get the pancake sleepies, that you always get from eating pancakes.
Yeah, because you have all that bread, like gluten and stuff just weighing you down.
It's it's not made with trash. It's made with stuff that's actually good for you.
It's actually good. It's actually deceiving, but it's actually good for you. Yeah. No, I get it. So yeah, I kind of consider myself a king of keto, but
yes.
So yeah, the cottage cheese waffle is awesome. Anybody get the opportunity, it's a great way. I actually just get those things, just make a whole bunch of them, bag them, and you can literally just throw those in the fridge and pop a couple in the toaster and not feel bad about yourself.
Nice.
It's like, oh yeah, I just had pancakes and waffles for dinner. It's like, no, you can have these. You can actually have these for breakfast or dinner, and not feel crappy about yourself.
Oh, what were you mentioning? Something about a funeral, and you said that it was a story, and I'm like, let's save it for the show.
Oh, I don't want to sound too elongated, Steve, but I actually went to the. This was actually, I had received information that it's been some time. So I had, when my father was passed, some time ago, and I hadn't seen him for many years. And the funny story is that I I get a phone call. Okay, I go up. I know when the funeral is. Okay, great. These are all people I haven't seen in probably, 10, 20 years. I don't even know how long it's been. And so I get the information.
Mm-hmm.
Arrive, and I'm like, I think these are my relatives. Okay, this is cool. All right, I walk up, and I'm like, okay, this is where the funeral is, and I reckon I you see these people, they're kind of, Hispanic looking. I'm like, okay, these must be my cousins. Cool.
Yeah, you're my last name is Garcia.
Daniel.
It makes sense.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, what's up? This is Tia somebody, Tia her prima, I'm like, hey, just introducing myself. And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. And they're like, hey, so yeah, I'm his name is Armando. And I'm like, hey, I'm Armando's son. Very good to meet you. I know I probably haven't seen you guys in so long. So this is all going on for about 20, 30 minutes, before we actually go in. So now everybody goes in, there's an open casket, and, and they're like, oh, well, you probably want to go up and, see your father. And I'm like, yeah, probably be a good idea, right? Pay some last respects. We just didn't have that. We had a little bit of a tumultuous relationship for the last, 5-10 years. Not a big deal. Anyways, so I come up and I'm like, I get to the casket and I'm like, hello, dead father. And, I'm like, God, this guy's really big. I'm like, I always remember him, this guy working out and everything. I'm like, God, what, we've been eating ho-hos for the last 5 years, or what's going on? And I literally, I didn't recognize him in this casket, right? Swear to God, I'm like, man, you're taking up, you need to a double wide on this thing. And I felt bad because I had these thoughts, right? Of I'm like, I'm calling my dad fat and he's dead. And I'm like, this is terrible. I'm a bad person. And I'm like, okay, just calm down. It's cool. You're at the funeral, pay your respects, do your thing. And I'm like, okay. So then I'm like, all right, I kind of walk to the back and let the next person, I'm like, went to the back to where all the food was, and I got to go get the quintessential cheese platter, right?
Yes.
And so I'm sitting here with the grape and the carrot and the ranch dressing and some cheese, I'm sitting here munching on my cheese platter, and I'm kind of looking up. I'm like, man, I haven't seen these people in so long. And then all of a sudden I see one of those easels, those kind of easels that people write things on.
Yeah.
And I look up at this easel, and it's Hector Romero Velaquanda. I don't even know what the name was. And I'm like, I don't think that's my dad. And I was sitting there and I'm introducing myself to all these people as this person's son. And it's not even my dad's funeral. I'm at the wrong funeral. And I'm sitting there in the back and all these people, I can see all these people kind of whispering, like kind of looking at me a little bit. And I'm like, oh my God, they think I'm like some illegitimate like child or something, right? And I'm like sitting there going, and there was like no escape. I'm in the back and everybody's in the front. I'm like, how do I get the fuck out of here?
Oh God, that's amazing.
Yeah, imagine like showing up to your own father's funeral and it's not even his funeral.
Were you like a day off or something, or what happened?
No, they actually moved it to a church and I didn't know. Like nobody told me.
Wow, that's awesome, bro. That is pretty epic.
I remember just like, I'm like, hi, I'm Armando's son, Armando. But I don't think they really, maybe they didn't speak English, but nobody seemed to like say anything. They're like,
no one caught that this is Hector, not Armando.
Yeah, this isn't Armando, this is Hector. I'm like, man, this guy is fat. I remember just walking, I'm like, God, this guy's huge. Like, I'm like, Dad, what did you do to yourself?
Yeah. I know we haven't seen each other in a few years, but Jesus.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, this is, and I was sitting there in my head going, I think this is him. Yeah, no, it's like convincing myself, right? I'm like, because he just looks so terrible in there, you know, whoever Hector was. Yeah. I think he obviously died of diabetes. Definitely on set. Definitely wasn't on the keto waffle program.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
So, anyways, I don't want to, sidetrack too much, but just a funny story.
Oh, that was great. Yeah, that was the best one I've heard in a long time. That was great.
I couldn't even make that up if I tried. I'm like, I literally went to the wrong funeral and it wasn't my dad. It was somebody else. And then I had to explain that because I was late to the actual funeral.
Sorry, I'm an idiot. I'm at the wrong funeral.
Yeah, I was like, well, it wasn't really my fault because nobody told me, and that's where it was supposed to be, right? So,
yeah.
I went to the actual church, and then I saw the people who actually looked a little bit more recognizable. And then, like, I had to explain to them that I was at the wrong funeral, and I was there for the past, like, hour and a half. I'm like, you wouldn't believe what happened to me.
Oh, God, that's great.
So, make sure you read the easel or whatever before you walk into the funeral. Make sure you know what funeral you're going to. How about there? Start there, right?
Yes.
Oh man, yeah. That's an eye crier.
That is a good one. That is a good one.
I know. Like I said, I wish I could make that up, but I can't.
Yeah, I'm excited about changing the name of the show. We talked last night, and I'm like, yeah, it's time. I just got to do a bunch of research on how to do it. Create new graphic, I already got I think a lot of the work is already done because I've already done it once and I know what to do. I just know that it's going to be 50 to 100 hours of work.
Oh, wow.
To it,
Wow, that's some serious first world problems going on, Steve.
It is. As with rich white people problems is what we got going on here.
Well, it's for the greater good. I think you'll be all right. So yeah, I like your name. I like the name that you're. Have you told everybody what your name's going to be and all that?
Stevie B Show. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
I like it.
Yes. Yeah, I think it'll be good. And like look at the two most popular shows: the Adam Carolla Show. His name's in it. Joe Rogan Podcast. His name is in it. And it just kind of has a ring.
Keep it simple, Kiss. Yes. Keep it simple, stupid. Right?
Yes. I like it. We also bought Google the other day.
Yes. Yeah. That was a more of a long-term kind of deal on that. I mean, I thought it does rarely goes down very much. It just seems to have an upward trajectory on usually most of the time. I would say about 90% of the time at least. So yeah, we bought that. It kind of dipped down about 10%.
Yeah, I think it's right about where we got it. We got it a little below 1,500, something like that.
Yeah, with this like 1452 or something. I think we got that, and it's in a buy zone still right now. I'm looking at it, so it's still definitely in a buy zone. But again, it's not something. It's a very expensive stock, and we're not really trying to get in and out of this. This is more for a kind of longer term thing.
Yeah, see, this goes against a few of our rules. First of all, it's well over $50. And number two is the other risky thing is there is no dividend, which kind of also goes against our rules. But I don't know, the way you pitched it to me, and I kind of agree. I mean, Google's not going anywhere, and it just seems to, over the long run, continually rise. And it's in one of the lower dips. It was up at like 1750, and then it went down to 1400, and now it's just creeping up on the upside of that. But as far as like last week, had a really nice reversal bar, which is an indicator we'll talk about. And it, I don't know, I like it. This is the kind of thing you're like, bro, just buy it now, forget you have it, and look at it in 10 years.
Exactly. I had it before, and I was sad that I sold it. I bought it in like, I would say 500 to 800, somewhere around there before when I had it, and then I ended up selling it. I kind of kicked myself. I mean, I made money on it, but it's one of those stocks that it's Apple, Facebook, Google. I mean, there's a bunch of them that are kind of like that, but those are just kind of good to just have over the long haul. Just make it part of your portfolio, so to speak.
Yeah, I already have a little bit of Google just through some of the indexes I've got through my retirement, like 401k type stuff. You buy into one fund and 3% of it is Google, 2% is Amazon, 1% is Microsoft, and it is invested through hundreds of others, but
right.
So I am a little bit invested in that, but it is kind of neat having one share. I feel like I'm like buying a Bitcoin. You know what I mean? Like, I got a Bitcoin when it was $400 and now it's 3,300, that kind of thing. So we'll see.
You did well with those Bitcoins.
I did. I made out pretty good. Oh, you know what? We're coming up on, let's bring in Aaron.
Ah, fantastic.
All right. We'll take a quick break and then we'll bring in Aaron Lamar.
I got supersonic speed that I used to run to you. I stretch my arms for miles and miles.
Aaron Lamar, thank you for coming on the show.
Hey everybody, thanks for having me.
Wow, I like the he's got quite the microphone there, Daniel.
And he won up the upper.
I think he did. That's like the late night FM DJ voice right there.
Yeah, I know. Soothing sounds here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Well, Aaron, I just met you recently, last week, I think, with Daniel. You guys, congratulations on your blue belts, by the way. That's impressive accomplishment.
Thank
you. Jiu-Jitsu is no joke. You were a white belt for 2 years.
Yeah,
right?
2 years. COVID kind of shut us down for a little bit. And so a little time off, but yeah, 2 years total.
Yeah, that's impressive. That's good job.
I think it's more like.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's more like you kind of feel like you got the shit beaten out of you for a year or two before you get the other belt, right?
Yeah, it's funny. If you finally kind of the trend reverses, and then you start going to more of complicated classes, and you realize that you still suck a lot.
You're like, this just all starts all back over again.
It's another grind. I wanted to bask in the glory for at least a month. Felt like it hasn't been that long.
I don't know. Then you have to start doing the advanced stuff and just realize that you're just basically in the fetal position again.
Yeah, I got used to that.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I was joking with Daniel after that because there was me, and then there was about 6 or 7 of you guys from the jiu-jitsu class, and I was like, this has got to be the safest 10-foot radius in all of Santa Barbara right now. You know?
Yeah, we're probably the crappiest people there too. You know, me and Aaron. Everybody else was like black belts and
my brother the other day, he was like, God, man, you know that guy's a badass when you can see his abs like clearly through his shirt. They're just sticking farther out in his pecs. It was our professor Rodrigo. That guy is no joke.
Just a
no
beast.
joke.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Right on. So how long have you two known each other? For that entire 2 years, or just the last few months, or?
This year, actually, yeah,
Okay.
just because of the COVID, and then I actually was injured for some time. So I believe Aaron probably started probably right around the time I did, or maybe right around the time I got hurt, I guess. So, but yeah, and then we just kind of connected up into class over, this year during the COVID period. So yeah, and just didn't really realize what he was into, and I guess until we had our ceremony, right?
Yeah.
And
then
we had
you're
some
like
mutual friends, and we had some mutual friends, and I had known about his software previously, and I'm like, oh, you're the guy. He was kind of serendipitous.
I didn't believe you at first.
Yeah, that was pretty random.
I was like, yeah, you don't know the software, yeah, just because we're still sort of small, and running into somebody who I've known for a bit, and then having that naturally and organically come up was shocking. Yeah,
it's very strange. Yeah.
Yeah, I had doubts. I was like,
you don't know me. You don't know me.
It's like, oh yeah, it must be some other Wall Street website.
No, I'm like, no, that's the one. I remember the .io at the end.
Yeah, and then you said one of our mutual friends, Phil, and it all clicked because he came by to our warehouse studio, and I remember talking to him as well with my brother, because they've been friends their whole life.
Right.
It's such a small world. But yeah, he was getting into it. He would text my brother like, "What do you think of Peloton? Should I sell?" It's always a hard topic to come up. Like, oh, should I buy? Should I sell? What should I do? And it's that old quote. The fishing quote, right? Where you can like, what is it? You can tell somebody to, you can what? How does it start? You can tell somebody to fish.
You can give a man a fish, or you can teach him to fish.
That's it. Yeah, and then he'll have fish for forever.
For fish for life, fish for a day, or fish for life.
It's the same as stocks. Like, you can tell someone to buy something, but if they have no understanding of what they're doing, they're gonna lose money. It's unless they get lucky. I think there's a quote I've heard too. The first one's free, and it's it's almost like
Steve, like the lap dance.
Oh, they know, they get you. It's almost like the market makers. It's like, oh, they have like a unique signature or something, like a unique fingerprint of you, and they're like, this guy's new. He bought.
Yeah.
raise it 2%. Give him some money. And you get a couple wins, and then all of a sudden, all right, he got in again. Tank it. Just drop the stock. It's like this conspiracy against every new trader.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, there's validity to that.
How long have you been into stocks? Like, how long?
Not that long actually. I used to always look down on it, to be honest. Like, my friends at my last job would always be into it, and I'd always try and make them upset. Like, oh, I don't gamble. Just say that. Oh, I'm not a gambler. And they're like, it's not gambling, man. And I was like, sure, it's not. Are you making money? And they're like, yeah. And so I never got into it until my brother, we started this company about 8 years ago together. He's the stock trader, and I was the programmer. And we kind of parted ways after a little bit. And I came back on maybe about 2 years ago, and his last engineer was leaving, and his last engineer told me all these things. He's like, man, don't build this software. Don't do these certain things. And I took that as kind of a challenge to say, like, screw you, I'm going to do it anyway. And so I started looking into options. I started building some software to backtest option strategies. And that's kind of when I got started, at least discovering the power and the leverage of trading options versus stocks. And I've only actually been trading, my own money live since December 2019. So not long at all.
Okay, so not even a
year. But I've been
Okay.
building this tool for the whole time, basically 2 years or so. So I've been understanding how it works, trying to understand how to actually make this thing accurate. So I've had to look into how contracts work, how they're bought, strike prices, expirations, just all the details of it. And then finally started pulling the trigger once I understood it a little bit more. And
okay, so how long have you been writing the back end program for your brothers? For I guess both your companies.
2 years.
Like you worked there and then you left, and then you came back and you've.
Yeah, so 8 years ago we started the company. It's funny. It's like I swear it's the same thing with like the market maker where he's like, all right, he's gone. Let's actually start selling this product. I was in college. I was working some other jobs. I was doing computer science, and family's difficult to work with at that time. But and so we just parted ways. I started looking at other sort of tech jobs and things like that. And that was 8 years ago. And his company just started doing so well, literally the month after I left. And we had a couple articles written about us in Market Watch by some of the top people in there. Cody Willard was a guy who promoted us, and the company grew, from just a couple hundred people to I think it was like 5,000-6,000 people in like a weekend.
Wow. What created that spike?
That was Cody Willard, a guy. Before it was called wallstreet.io, it was called appletrader.com and AAPL.
Okay.
And it was purely, my brother Micah is really good at trading Apple, and so he would do Apple videos, Apple analyses, and just talk about Apple, and kind of created that that ecosphere of a lot of people like that. And Cody Willard, he was a top analyst on Market Watch, and he used to have his own show, a pretty big show, I think in New York, and he promoted us on Market Watch, and it just blew up. He said the best site for Apple traders.
And that blew it up.
And
oh wow, that's interesting. So your brother, Aaron, so he only traded Apple.
Basically, yeah, he was just an Apple trader. He just traded Apple.
Wow.
Got really good at it. Had developed his own little strategy he calls payday cycles, and just traded that. Would just wait till the payday cycle would start. Get in, wait till it end, and get out. And it was a really simple strategy that worked on Apple very well. And then over the years, he fine-tuned it with a couple extra indicators, using the MACD, some moving averages.
Okay.
And then, taught people. And then people started making money too. And then built this big community around it. And then in the last maybe 4 years, one of his engineers just redid the whole site to prove some concepts of back testing and strategies. And that's the software that we have today that I work on, called wallstreet.io.
Okay.
Very cool.
Cool. It I'm on your site right now, and I'm looking up the one that we've been talking about on the show, Duke, DUK. And I at first it's a very simple graph, but you showed me how that you can add indicators into here. There's even a tab that says indicators, and you can click on that, and then it allows you to ADX, Bollinger Bands, MA for moving average, MACD, and
that's
that is
the
moving
MACD.
Average conversion.
MACD.
Okay, RSI, stochastic, and volume. So I clicked on the ones that Daniel and I use, and they populated pretty well. And this looks kind of neat.
There's a lot of little stuff in there. This page that you're looking at has a lot of detail. There's barely any extra real estate. We've had people, find new functionality or new buttons they haven't really even seen before. Been on the site for years, but yeah, there's a lot of little things in there. If you go into the backtest tab and you click the stochastics there, that's what's going to show you historical results. So if you actually go back and plug in, I think, stochastic crossover or threshold, if you just click that, it'll add it and then backtest it almost instantly, and then show you how profitable that strategy would have been if you just bought it and sold it at those levels.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, because what Daniel and I are doing is we've got a list of about, I don't know, 70 different stocks, and every morning, or as often as we can, maybe 3 times a week, we log on and we literally click through every single one visually, looking for our indicators. And what you're doing is you're writing a software to do that for you.
Exactly.
And it'll come up as an alert, and then to focus on that one. And it can scan many different. How many different stocks can it scan? Just as many as you want to input?
I'm as many as we can offer for the exchange that we use. And so there's about 6,000, 7,000 right now. And then I can add more if our data provider has them. I believe it's the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, and we get mostly just United States right now. But we're looking into extra data providers so we can offer Forex and crypto, and other currencies and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. So what you do with day trading sounds a lot like what Daniel and I do with swing trading. And I think some of the things that you're looking for are the same things that we're looking for, just on a longer time scale. You're trading very quickly, right? You do it in the mornings?
Yeah, I'm the micro version of you guys. Yeah,
The in and outer, the 2-minute hero.
Yeah, the 2-minute hero. Yeah. I developed a weird strategy over time, but yeah, I get in really quick. I get out really quick. It traditionally is what everybody will tell you don't do. Everybody just says, don't do this. It's riskier. And the reason they say that is I'll push most of my portfolio into a trade for 1 minute and then get it all out. And the idea is that I'm scalping. I scalp essentially option contracts. And I find, I'll look in the morning, right when the market opens, it becomes really volatile.
The first 30 minutes just seems to be
exactly
around.
the way
that's one of the lessons.
The way I envision it is I literally imagine a bull and a bear fighting. It's like buyers and sellers are sitting there just duking it out. And you don't know who's going to win, if it's going to pop up or down. But basically the selling and the buying is happening, and the price is fluctuating. Certain stocks, like the ones that I trade, I'm actually only specifically trading the SPY, the S&P 500, and the Square, so SQ, because they fluctuate and there's so much volume that there's so much buyers and sellers. And so I'll sit there, I'll look at the price action, and it'll make kind of a tiny range really quickly, where you can see it fluctuate between 50 cents, maybe 70 cents, sometimes smaller. And there's a high to and low to that. And I'll try and figure out, using indicators like RSI or stochastic, where it's overbought or oversold, and then quickly move my money in when it's overbought, and then quickly move it out when it hits the bottom of that range. The price only moved 50 cents, but since I'm pushing in a lot of capital and moving it out, I'm able to buy a lot. And then that price fluctuation might just be 50 cents, but in options world, that could be a lot. Yeah, substantial. Yeah, it could be. So for an options contract, they get traded. You have to buy, essentially you buy one contract for an option, but you actually end up buying 100 stock. And so if you buy 100 option contracts, you're buying 10,000 stock essentially, or the right to.
Yeah.
But the leverage of it. So I'll buy that for 50 cents, and then I'll sell it for 55 cents. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you multiply that, every penny change is essentially times by the contract amount that I'm buying. So if I buy 100 contracts and it goes up 1 penny, I'll make $100. And if it goes up 5 pennies, I'll make $500. So depending upon, the price change and how many pennies that happens in seconds. It'll just fluctuate.
Yeah.
And so I literally, I do it on my phone, which is funny. I'll just sit there. I'll make a trade and then literally go straight to the sell screen and just enter in the manual amount that I want to sell it for 5 cents more. And it'll get filled and then it'll get sold immediately. And I'm profiting from that.
Oh.
And so
now what do you do if it goes down?
Yeah, that's a great question, right? You lose money for a moment.
No stop loss?
Well, so I don't have enough time to put in stop losses. So, there's a lot to it. It's not just so much looking at this. It's not so much just looking and buying and selling. There's other indicators I'm using to, hopefully, I'm guessing a bounce, so that I don't just get in really quick. I do try to wait for, like, a range being formed in some manner, or a trend. Like, the way I call it is like directionality. I'm trading the direction of the stock moving up or down. But in order to manage risk, I have a plan. It's the stock's gonna go in this direction. So the moment that plan stops working, I take a small loss.
Yeah. Okay.
So
you kind of have let's say you got in at 50 cents and your goal is to sell it out at 55 cents, but it actually goes down to 45. Is that your cutoff point too? Sell it at
it's probably roughly in that range. It depends on the confidence that I have, because it's really hard to guess tops and bottoms just in any macro micro level. So if I have a really high confidence just based off of the indicators, the direction, I'll look at, like, for Square, I'll look at SPY as well to see what it's doing, because those trade very well in tandem of each other. And so if SPY's just tanking, I'll immediately go and just exit the trades in Square or something like that. But yeah, it is a risky, that's why I said it's a risky way of kind of taxing the market really quick.
If you're throwing in basically your bankroll or your portfolio, I mean, like, what if you lose internet connection?
I hopefully have backup cellular data, but yeah,
okay. Yeah, I guess
I'm on my phone.
Okay.
I actually don't use Wi-Fi. I use the cellular data. I have Wi-Fi turned off in the morning.
Probably more reliable than the Wi-Fi.
You know, like
Aaron's
I said,
on the gut check. You got to gut check yourself before you get in on one of these.
You know, like I said,
how much money you put in.
First off, I'll just have to say, don't do what I'm doing. And I
okay. Throw the disclaimer out there.
Yeah, disclaimer.
Yeah, just put that on there. Do as I say, not as I do.
You know, yeah, like I said, you know, I'm uniquely in a position to do this riskiness, and the only reason I say that is I learned in the very beginning of my trades when I was telling you guys the first one's free. My first one was free, and it was really free. Like, I got into this, I didn't even know what I was doing. I got into Tesla back in January, right before it was booming, and just didn't know what I was doing. I cashed out my 401k at my last job because I had to either do that or move it somewhere. And I said, you know what? I didn't even realize I had this money. I'm just going to throw it in the stock market and learn. I wanted to learn how options worked, and I'm really dense. I have to do things like repeatedly and like get hard lessons in order for me to really learn something. So I thought that would be the best way. And I think I made, gosh, it was like $10,000-$15,000 in Tesla in like 2 days.
Wow.
It was ridiculous.
Oh, wow.
And it was
Nice.
nothing I did. Like, I did nothing. I literally just said, yeah, sure. Okay. Here, I just picked something. Yeah, I had no idea what I was doing. For the most part.
It's like my first poker tournament. I won it, and after that, I just thought I was. The
yeah. No, I literally, my brother was so upset too because he's been doing this forever, and I'm sitting there like, oh yeah, I'm making all this money, and so a couple days go by, and I kept doing that. I kept just saying, yeah, okay, screw it. Here's 25 grand, and I put that all in there again and put it in. And then I remember Tesla dropped, I think it went up all the way to 700 points. This was before it's where it is now. and I got in at like 600
Right.
and it went all the way up to like 700, 800 or something. And then the last 5, I was looking at my phone. I was about ready to sell just to get out of these trades. And Tesla dropped like 150 points in 5 minutes. And I just saw my brother came in to sit down next to me and he was trying to talk to me. And I think I lost literally everything. Like all the money that I had just made that whole week was just gone. It was just taken from me in 5 minutes. And I learned a super hard lesson that day.
Yeah, absolutely.
The bull walks. What is it? The bull walks up the hill and the bear falls out the window.
It was. I was walking the stairs up, and it took the elevator down. Just crushed me.
Wow. Yeah.
And so,
geez, yeah, that's.
I tried to think about it, and I had to, in retrospect, was like, what did I do wrong? It's a stupid question because clearly I know what I was doing wrong, but but the number one, this is what I was kind of getting at. The number one kind of thing is I realized that I have a high, I don't know if you want to call it I always think it's like a stupidity, but I have like a high tolerance to like a threshold of stomaching these things, like being able to just be like, well, that happened, and not having it affect me as, of course I went through like a 10 minutes of just like going white and pale and, almost passing out for a moment. But I went through and I was like, okay, well, that was stupid. What did I do wrong? How can I do that better? And I went through the process of trying to figure it out and, doing that, kind of learn some lessons. Obviously, in saying that, I'm still doing something similar in how I'm trading now, but it's in a less time frame. And it's using, more of the education that I've had over the last 9 months for me personally and my risk management of it. And, it's the interesting part is after that point, I've been successful for the last 3 months, essentially in this strategy that I'm doing. To give you an example, I was it 3 months ago, I wanted to see if I was a good trader or if I got lucky. So I put $2,000 into my account and to see, okay, well, if I can do it, I and do this smart, I should be able to turn $2,000 into more money. It's, using a day trading type strategy. I grew that. It was upwards to, I think I cashed out about half of it when I hit six figures. So I hit $100,000 in 3 months. Using like a day trading type strategy. And using this strategy essentially. And most of that actually was this exponential growth towards the end of once I had around 25,000 to play with, which is like you get over the day trading limits, so you can actually get in and out of trades unlimited amount of times. You need 25,000. Otherwise you're limited to doing it in a more complicated way with options. Which was what I was doing. Essentially, you can lock in options profits by selling a higher contract, and then essentially you just don't make any more money. You just lock it in. It doesn't count as a day trade, and so there's a sort of exponential growth there, and that to me was validation of, okay, this strategy is working.
Okay, what I'm doing.
Yeah, and so right now I took all the profits out. I took most of it out, and I'm starting over again, just to see. Okay, well, if I can do this from 25, I started with 25,000 because that's where everything like really went. This next time around, that's where everything really went to a whole new level for me. So I'm able to get in, this 1 minute, 2 minute trade, and I'm not greedy. I'm trying to take a couple $100 off the top out of a large, it's like less than 1% sometimes. So the stock's going to wiggle that around a little bit. And it's learning these things over time and learning these strategies, and risk management is the number one thing. And then, not necessarily being emotional in that and just take the loss if it's a loss, get back in it when you think you should. But again, I went through an evolution to get to the point where I'm at now.
Well, let's talk a little bit about when to get in and when to get out. And I think what you look for is very similar to what Daniel and I look for. And one of them is the stochastic. What is it that you call it? You say it's similar to stochastic, but it's
a
not.
lot of these indicators. MACD is a good one. MACD has two moving averages in it, and there's one slow and one fast. And the idea there is once they converge, once they cross, it's going to get more of a trend. So the ones that I have a few that I like to look at, but I'm trying to keep it really simple and just look at a few things for what I'm doing. And it's called RSI, which is Relative Strength Index. And
okay, that one's similar to
yeah, they're almost identical. They bounce between 100 and 0, and when it's at 0, which it very rarely will just get to 0 or stay at 0 or even 100. Usually bounces between like 20 and 80 is sort of the high ranges of those. But yeah, the idea behind those is to find tops and bottoms, to find ranges of trading. And RSI is very similar. The only difference is RSI kind of is more for velocity. So like it'll give you these ranges, but it'll try to figure out like how quickly it's getting to them. So the way I look at it, stochastics like trend and range, and RSI is the velocity of how it's going to get to the trends and get to the ranges.
How quickly?
Exactly. It's going there? Yeah, exactly. And it also.
And do you have a favorite?
RSI. I love RSI.
RSI.
RSI, MACD, and I'm one of those old school people. I just look at the tape, look at the price, is the fluctuation,
Right. Yeah.
And what's the MACD?
MACD,
moving average convergence.
Yeah. It sounds like a matrix thing or something. It's the divergence of the trend. So like all these indicators we're talking about are based off of a moving average. They're based off of the previous candlesticks, usually the close of them, and they average those together, and then they create like a number. And MACD is the divergence of those. So there's two moving averages in the MACD. One that's looking at more days in the past, usually 26 days, and then one that's looking at 12 days. And the more days you have, like when you have a moving average, it's 21 days, 50 days, 100, the harder that line is to move, and the more powerful if the stock is, getting near it. Will there be an opportunity to either buy or sell? It's like for 21-day moving averages, they'll, stocks will sit around those areas, but 100-day moving average, something's seriously wrong if it's near that trend line.
Yeah. Okay. So moving averages, let's go into that a little bit. Listeners may not know exactly what that is. So the three moving averages that Daniel and I look at, and I think they're the same for you, Aaron, I'm not sure, but there's 21-day moving average, 50-day moving average, and 200 day moving average. And I say day, but it depends on what format you're looking at the stock.
Candlesticks.
So when you pull these up on Aaron's software, you can have one candlestick or one bar that represents, depending on if you hit the drop down menu, of monthly, weekly, or daily. So we'll just make it simple. We'll click daily. So what that means is that the 21-day moving average is going to be at a certain point on the graph, and it's going to tell you what the average price has been if you add up the previous 21 values. If you add up the 21 prices for the last 21 days, that's where that line will be. And then there'll be another line for a moving average of 50. So it represents 50 of the last bars, whether you have the daily clicked or the weekly clicked or the monthly clicked, it'll add up the last 200, or I'm sorry, the last 50 days or the last 50 weeks or the last 50 months, and it'll put it at a certain point where you go, okay, this is the 50 moving average. So for the last 50 weeks, the average price has been $43 or whatever it is. And right now I can see that it's at 100. So it's far above what it's averaged over the last 50. And then the last one is the moving 200. And that adds up the last 200 bars or candlesticks or whatever units you're using to read these. And it gives you the average price for that. So it allows you to see that if, for example, if a stock is low and it's been tanking, those moving averages are going to show higher than the stock price because the previous, 2150 or 200 price was higher than it is now. So they're going to be above. Whereas if the stock has been shooting up, those averages those lines are going to show below the current price because the price has previously been lower. And when you average that out, that's where it shows. So what you're talking about, I think, with this MACD is it's showing a representation between like when those lines cross each other. So when the 21 crosses the 50, or do you have different days in for the MACD?
That's exactly right. But we do have different days. The average is 12 and 26, and I don't know why. My brother went through, and the default settings for a lot of these are more or less the more popular settings that we have. But yeah, the idea is exactly that, is that it finds the divergence of the trend, and the trend being the moving average. And so when the 12, which is considered a fast line because it's going to move more with the fluctuation of the price of the stock, it'll actually show a little bit more of the the trend of that move. And then the 26, which will be a little bit slower to move around, like you're getting at, when those cross, it's usually, people use that as a sign that it's switching more, if it's trending down. And so if the fast line, crosses more bearish, then, historically, that's an indicator that trend is diverging bearish. And then the opposite happens if it's crossed back above. Historically, that'll look as, okay, the trend now is diverging bullish. And so the stock is on sort of a more path to being bullish or bearish. And so that kind of gives you a really quick visual of what might be happening right now.
Okay. And the way Daniel and I use these indicators these moving averages is, if you can add these to your graph, right? So we got the normal graph here, and then we're adding in the 2150 and 200 day or 200 moving average. It's almost like the stock price will use that as like a balloon almost, or some kind of resistance, or like an umbrella. If it's creeping up to the 200 moving average, it's almost like a lot of times it'll level out and touch it, and then go back down, and then go back up and touch it, and then go back down. So I think that there's a whole bunch of people that are looking at the exact same thing. That's what I
think too.
And they're that's the stop point. You know what I mean? It's like a bubble, or it can be used as a support. So if it's below, and the stock price is falling and it's just about to meet the moving average, it's like that will be the bottom, and after that the stock price will go back up.
It's funny. I totally agree. I think of it like it's funny. It's either because like the way the market works is just buyers and sellers, and for the most part that's what they want us to think, right? But it should be that. But yeah, it's funny to think about, is that psychology, is it psychology or is it price action? Is it, psychology being, is it people, looking at it because that's what everybody's looking at and that's what everybody's saying, but it's also true, because it does happen, and you can look historically, stocks love to bounce off of it. So whether that's true action of the the stock and the value is, you know, of the stock, or if it's just people use, you know, a lot of people, a lot of companies, hedge funds, everybody's looking at these things. And so doesn't always happen, but it's very often, you're right, those are used as these sort of tops and bottoms for people. And that's what I was getting at earlier. Like the longer average you look at, the stronger that is. Like if you look at this, the SPY, the SPY, and the 200-day, if the stock's hitting that, then, you know, like the world is ending or something, or we're in some sort of pandemic, which it was getting really close to. And a lot of people are, you know, are looking at that line as like the oh shit meter. It's really interesting.
Hey, Aaron, quick question for you. So if somebody like, you know, they're interested in your software that you guys have, you know, what's a great way for someone just to kind of look at it, you know, where to get started, who is it best to accommodate, you know, just kind of like the beginning things. There's a lot of people, because there's so much software out there, you know, and yours is, it's really good, and it's deep, and it's, you know, seems very robust. But, you know, somebody just kind of like, hey, like coming on new to the scene, what would you suggest for them? You know, they come onto the site, you know, I know you have some great kind of the university tab there with a lot of great videos and stuff there as well. Any like top videos to look at or anything like that?
You know, what I would do, the best thing to do would probably, we have a like a $7 for 7-day trial. So if you're signing up or you're coming to the site, do that. It's $7. You'll get so much more value if you actually use it. If you know, out of $7, you get access to pretty much everything. Nice. We started having, because we noticed that as well. There's a lot to stocks. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of unknowns, and educating people is extremely important. So we started offering a one-on-one kind of onboarding call. And the lady who's doing that for us is actually a part of our community. She's been using the site for like 6 years. She's an experienced trader.
Oh, wow.
She trades options, and she'll get on a Zoom call with you and go through everything, show you what the site does, how to use it, how to explain it, answer some of your questions. And so you can schedule more calls with her as well. And we're getting in the process of kind of scaling that up, so we can have more people like her.
Cool.
That's pretty unique. That's pretty unique, because that's something that honestly I don't know of another place that really does that. You know,
our biggest, you know, it's funny. I'm the tech guy, so I'm like, oh, the tech, that's the coolest part, you know, like, like flexing a little bit on that. But honestly, the best part of our site is this, it's the community. We've built this community from Apple Trader days for 8 years. Everybody in that chat room that you'll go into today are, for the most part, some of the biggest people in there are been on our site for 8 years, has watched the evolution of this. They've known each other. The community is really helpful. So it's like you were saying, it's really hard to find that. And I think that's probably why you guys kind of globbed together for a little bit, and why now I'm kind of coming in talking about this, is because building, you know, community to talk about this stuff is really important.
Well, it's hard to find people too, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, I think I sent you guys that little meme.
Yeah.
What people think I do, what my wife thinks
I don't
I
even
do.
tell her what I do anymore. She'd have a heart attack.
Right?
She's
Oh yeah, I don't think she'd be able to stomach that very well.
No,
as many people.
Yeah, it's
wouldn't.
funny when I told her I did finally tell her. I was like, hey, I made some money, and she's like, how much? And I told her, and she's like, so you're gonna take it all out now, right? It's like,
Oh no, I'm gonna gamble it all tomorrow. Why?
No, it's all going back in.
Yeah,
Why do
she's
you
like, why
ask?
wouldn't you do? Like, she couldn't comprehend, you know, like as I'm sure you guys and maybe your audience knows that aspect. Like, well, if I did that in such a short time period, I'll just do it again. You know, it's so easy.
Yeah.
You know, it's you know, I know what I was doing right. I know what I was doing wrong. So
I'm God's gift to trading. Why don't you
yeah,
recognize
right.
this?
I should get that shirt.
That'll be a good one.
It's funny. But yeah, I think finding a community, like-minded people, educating them, asking questions. I mean, just like really a lot of things, but it's really hard. And I will say as well, it's rather male dominated as well. There's a lot of, it still kind of has that old school Wall Street guy mentality.
Poker's the same way. It's probably 90% male, 10% female, maybe a little bit, maybe 85-15 or something. Is that about what you feel like?
Totally.
It is.
Yeah. And we have a lot of the person that does the onboarding calls, a woman, and a lot of our community are actually women as well. And I think that's a strong selling point of the community, is that it's not like, I feel like it's just online in general, women online, there's a lot of toxicity and things like that. And so there's a lot, we focus heavily, no politics unless it's trade related. I actually had to build in a bunch of tools a little bit ago for like reporting people, because it was starting to get a little bit heated. Well, we had this one guy,
Trump lover.
Actually, somebody reported somebody for just saying like, "Yo, Trump did some good policy here," and report. Stop now.
Didn't finish reading about how it's going to affect the stock price. They just reported.
This guy, man,
right? And
I think he was Canadian, and like at 4 a.m. when nobody was around, I wasn't around. He would just write these like, beat your chest like rants, like we're in this together. We're all gonna make money. Let's do this. He was trying to like go for it. Like all caps. Like
pump people up or something. I guess.
And I get it. I actually kind of enjoyed it. I was like waking up reading. I was like, like putting my fist to my hand, like let's do this. But
this man is passionate.
And
he's like, either that is on steroids.
It was probably both, but I mean, he's great. We had to talk to him and calm him down a little bit and let him know, like, hey,
support call.
Yeah.
Support call.
Well, he was. We had to reach out because people were emailing us like, we love the guy, but like he's just too energetic and passionate. It's like,
he's an 8 right now.
10 to a 2.
Oh, he was like a 12.
Yeah, 10 to a 2.
He was a 12. And it was such an awkward. I remember my brother and I having like, a long conversation, because it's going to happen. And we didn't have any way for people to hide people or report people. And since our community is really important to us and keeping it, valuable for people, 1 or 2 people can come in and just sort of,
ruffle the feathers.
Make people uncomfortable. And, as much as I like to be uncomfortable, I think that there is something to at least having a proper discussion and maintaining the rules of what a discussion should have. And calling people names and things like that, it doesn't add value. It just ruffles people's feathers.
Yeah, that doesn't make you money.
And that's the bottom line. Yeah, we're all here on here to help each other make money. Yeah, make better decisions.
Yeah. So if someone wants to check it out for $7 for 7 days, they go to wallstreet.io/7.
That's right. Yeah, 7. Yeah, that should forward you over to
wallstreet.io/7. I'll throw a link in the show notes for you. Yeah. This is exciting. I'm trying to think of another indicator that I think we talked about it a little bit last week, but again, if we just go back to the one, just keep the theme simple so you guys can keep the same tab open. But if we go to Duke, and I think you do this as well, Aaron, is if you can draw an imaginary like kind of line below what we're looking for is like a Charlie Brown pattern, right? And when it starts at wherever it is, goes up and then comes back down and then goes up again. Very often what'll happen is when it comes back down, it comes to the same point that it was before. So let's say like with Duke, it was around $80. It went up to 90 over the course of a month. And then it went down to 80 over the next month. And then it went up to 90 again,
Yeah.
right? Like clockwork. And so you're looking for like a bounce, right? Like it's like it's finding some kind of resistance there. There's an imaginary number in everyone's mind that $80 is a good deal and $90 is too much, you know? And if you can spot that that bounce, I think it's a really good indicator of very powerful.
Yeah, it's like I call that like a channel, and so it's channeling between that, you know, like you said, the a good price and a low price or a high price, and yeah, identifying that sort of range or channel that it's making. There's stocks that just are range bound, you know, and they'll just ping pong back and forth, and quite honestly, those are the ones that I love. I in my strategy, I don't mind so much, you know, if it goes up or if it goes down, as long as it's somewhat range or channel bound.
Yeah.
And some stocks are very, you know, they're like that. Steve, you had we had that LYG was like that for a long time.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
we kind of went in and out of that a few times, right? So
We
and,
did,
and it
yeah.
had a really long history of doing that for like, I don't know, 8-9 years. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Duke's
It's,
at the top of that sort of channel right now, like you're saying, and
Right.
it just hit it.
Right.
It's just like right there. You can go back a couple months and see the high, and they're pretty much identical. And then it had a little bit of a pullback. The way that
steady Eddie.
Exactly, yeah. And I think my brother Micah has a better way of explaining some of this stuff because he's been doing that longer, but with Apple. And I think he calls it, there's two like modes with stocks. There's that where it's sort of compressing or range bound, and then there's one where it's essentially, he has a word for it, I can't remember, but it's trying to find its new value, right? And so when it breaks out of that channel, that range, and it stays above or below that, then essentially, you know, it's going to form another channel, another range, but it's like it's searching for its home. I don't know what you would call it, but it's searching for a fair price, and it's broken out of that, and so he says that like stocks, you can kind of look at them, so they'll go in those two phases, and that's how stocks break higher or lower, is their price discovering. They're trying to figure out where's the next, you know, good deal, or where's the next good value for this stock. And so
I think that's kind of like that old support is new
Exactly.
resistance, new resistance. Yeah, so yeah, it has a little bit to do with that as well.
Yeah, that is interesting. I have noticed that now that we've been doing this for a couple of years. Is you're right. It'll kind of be in that channel where it's bouncing up and down.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, for whatever, COVID, and then boom, now it's down, and it's created a new channel that's $10 lower than the price that it was before, but it still seems to follow that up and down pattern. You know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Another one. Are you familiar with pendants?
No, I'm not. How do you spell that?
Okay, it basically pendants. Oh God,
Sorry.
I'm just curious.
Come on, spelling bee.
Like PENANTS, I think. No, that's wrong. I think it's all E's.
Pendant.
Pendant? Is there a D in there?
I just want to look it up later.
It's not the first time I've
there is a D.
embarrassed myself for thousands of people.
No, it's okay. No, Aaron, it's just a way of pendant, you know, like flags. Is really what it is.
Yeah, like a flag.
Drop.
So it comes down to a point,
drag.
you know, so let's say, still looking at Duke. See how after COVID 6 months ago, it went all the way down to like $62. And then it shot up, and it went up. By the time April hit, it was up around 90, right? So you can draw a line from $62 up to 90 right there, right? And this one has created kind of a flag, right? It's just flat going. If you connect the dots of the tops from $90, you know, and then $90 again in June, and then $90 again now, right? You can draw a straight line from those peaks, right? And you can also draw a straight line from the bottoms, which was around 80, and then 80 again, and 80 what it was a month ago. But sometimes what'll happen is it'll shoot up like this, and it'll create like a pennant, almost like a golf flag.
Yep, I see that.
Right? Okay. And so it'll create like this converging, instead of doing the Charlie Brown up and down, creating flat lines here as we have in Duke, it'll create more of kind of a converging one where it doesn't go quite as high as it went before. Like if Duke were to do this, it went up to 90 the first time, then down to 80, and then it went up to 88. And then it went down to 81, and then it went up to 86 and went down to 82. And so if you were to get into these, let's say you got in at 82, like your max is probably 86. So there's not much wiggle room there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But eventually it gets to the point to where it's, you're selling it at 85 and then buying it at 84.50. And then boom, it'll either like usually skyrocket down or skyrocket up. But once it gets down to that point to where people are, just doing it over pennies, then it reacts one way or the other. And there's got to be some type of pattern there as to recognize like, well, when is it going to go up or when is it going to go down?
I actually totally understand what you're talking about now. Yeah. Flag. I call that compression. It's
okay.
Compressing, right? Like you're making lower highs and or higher lows. And so it's compressing into that point. And that's why it's making a flag, because it's at that point, and that's kind of goes back to what I was saying with the whole breaking the channel. Like it actually, like that gap up of Duke looks like it's from that compression time that it was in. The way I look at it is there's a big battle again, right? Like I'm always trying to make it a battle. I don't know why, big axes and stuff, but like the Bears and the Bulls are fighting. Who's going to pop, right? Higher, lower. And eventually it just got to this point where they're so even that it just made a point, and then pop, one of them won. In this case, Bulls won, right? And it popped up and it hit the high of what it previously was. It popped out of that channel of compression. To figure out if it's going to be higher or lower is really hard. The only thing that I do, I actually try to avoid that. When I see it compressing to a point, I get out because it literally at that point, it could quite pop either direction. I don't have a great way yet that I've identified.
You're just flipping.
That's how I feel. I honestly feel, because it's essentially like, if you want to do it in my mind, another battle, right? Like Jedi lightsabers, and it's the two lightsabers are hitting, and all this energy is just emitting and just popping off of it. I feel like that's the pinnacle. Like they're sitting there with the two swords, and they're even. Nobody's winning, right? They're both essentially breaking even. And I like to know who's going to kind of win, or I like to trade the little bounces back and forth to the compression. But at the moment it compresses, and actually in my strategy, if I see that happening, because that happens again, it's all relative. That happens on, daily, weekly, monthly. It happens on 2-minute charts, 5-minute charts. It's all the time of that compression, and that pattern is relative. When I see that happening, that's one of my indicators to not risk and get out and wait for it to form a channel again and get range bound and start.
Wait for it to decide, go up or down. You don't care which, but just wait for the Charlie Brown to reestablish itself. And that's when you start.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a good point, because that pattern of compression, or the flag, is a really powerful way of kind of looking at the, that channel. And then now it's going to be some price discovery. It's going to figure out a new value.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I wish I had a magic wand on that one. Oh, it's going to pop up 10% tomorrow.
Yeah. Right.
That's a big pop. That's a big pop,
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
80.
Yeah. Well, that's what Duke did. It closed one day at $83, and then it opened the next at 87. Like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what happened there, but someone
One of the old trader guys on our site, he talks a lot about when there's a gap. And so this is a good sort of segue into that just real quick, but like Duke gapped up like a lot. It went from, like you said, 82 to the low of 86. He usually says that gap is super strong. So once that happens, in this case, bulls won. It's going higher. Price is going higher. Right. And so he says that that's a huge indicator that this is trending a little bit upwards. But if that gap is broken and you close lower than that gap at any point during this next, it's been like that for 3 days. If it closes below 86 in any of these days, and recaptures that gap, then it's a strong indication that things are trending the other way. And so huge support now on 86, where that was a battle forever. So that'll
the last time it was up there was when August.
So that now becomes a strong line of support for the bulls, right?
New support,
exactly.
Right?
New support, old resistance.
Okay.
Huh. Yeah. Oh, okay. That kind of gives a different perspective on that as well. I can definitely see that.
That information would have been really good for Daniel and I to know yesterday or the day before, because we sold out at 88, and we're like, wow, we scored 10% in a month.
That's still good. Money's money, man.
Money's money. Yeah. But we could have squeaked out another few bucks out of it, I think.
I told you we should have waited to do a little bit longer for that little extra higher stow, but you wanted your money, Steve. You want to go buy your TV dinner.
Yeah.
Well, cool. This has been good. I think that we should maybe get into the inner workings of this stuff a little bit more, because it seems like it's kind of opened up a lot of, small doors into big rooms here.
Yeah. He has all these one-liners that you've never ever heard before.
I haven't heard that one. You're right. But it makes
there'll
sense.
Be another eight or 10.
Be like the small door into the big room.
Yeah.
I think it's like an Alice in Wonderland or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What is it?
Some random synapse fired from the Fox and the Hound, and he just
was it the mushroom that made her grow, or was it the drink? I can't remember.
I don't know. I just wanted. Yeah, I don't know. The mushroom tea. What?
Yeah.
I think it was the mushroom tea. Yeah. She ate the mushrooms, and that's what made her grow. Yep.
Yeah, I like that.
Right on.
That's cool.
Right on.
All right,
Cool.
Steve. Any other questions, Steve? Or
none that I can think of. I just want to throw out one more time. You guys go to wallstreet.io/7, and you can try the 7-day for $7 trial and get a walkthrough of it. That would be. That would have been very helpful for us a couple years ago. I think that,
wish you would have told us that before, Aaron.
Something we started recently. The last couple months.
He's like yesterday.
Yeah, no, it's
no, that is a really great thing though. That is really cool that you guys do that.
It's been really, really, really awesome. We've gotten some great feedback, and I totally agree though. Like, it's always funny. I look at the site and I'm like, oh yeah, it makes sense, because I look at it every day, I tweak it all the time, and then getting, one of the things with the onboarding was getting feedback from people. And a lot of people, they're not going to just tell you all the time. They're not, if you're, oh, why'd you cancel? They're not going to be like, well, I didn't understand anything. They're not going to always say stuff like that.
Right.
But for the most part, there's so many new traders, there's so many people, and it's a great opportunity to just help people. I mean, like I said, a big aspect of a lot of this is building a good community, asking questions, learning, and not having to feel like there's a stupid question, or, there's a question that, I think those are the greatest questions to ask, because it shows, your willingness to learn and to put yourself into somewhat of a tiny, vulnerable state to figure it out. I mean, those are the people we want. We want people to figure it out and ask questions and, get help and grow and learn. I mean, if you're making money and you're making money using our site, then you're going to stick around as well. So it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah,
Nice.
and you got what you call your university here. It's got a lot of videos on how to getting started, and then day trading, and just understanding all the little indicator tabs. The MACD, the RSI, stochastics, all those that you can click on and watch. And then there's several training videos on each one of them to show you what to look for and how to
Yeah,
use them.
and just to mention too, we have live shows on there as well. So every morning there's a guy who does
Nice.
day trading right as the market opens. You can just watch him. He'll explain what he's doing. There's a chat room. You can ask him question.
Oh, that's really cool.
That
That's
is
really, so
cool.
you get like a nice hands-on there
Yeah,
too.
exactly. Every morning.
Is that like for? Is that for like an hour? Or
I
45
think he
minutes
does it
kinda
like an
thing?
hour and a half. He only
Wow.
trades for
That's very helpful.
and then on Tuesdays, the same guy who did all the videos for RSI and the indicators, he does a question and answer. And Nick G, yeah, he's been on our site forever. So again, the coolest part, the community,
Wow.
everybody who is a part of this, who's a contributor or does live streams, essentially was a member of Apple Trader for 5-6 years ago, and they've just been on the site and they grew with us. And everybody who
Nice.
works at the company essentially is just part of the community that wanted to help or wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, we have another guy. He does portfolio growth. He's really into longer term things. It's his name's Jake Pelly. He'll do I think it's 3 times a week he'll do it. For an hour and a half. You can ask him anything. He's super smart, fundamental guy.
Wow, that's
and
really
then my
cool.
brother.
Wow. We got to get in this a little bit more.
Yeah, my brother does like a swing trading. You can ask him about stocks. He'll talk about the ranges. His is the most popular just because he's been doing it for so long. So he kind of goes through things quickly, but he'll go over on Monday like an overview of the market and some top stocks he's looking at. And then, that's pretty much it right now are those shows. And we're all
okay. No, that's been really helpful. I think a lot of people greatly benefit from that. That's
now
really...
can you trade on your site, or is this what you use to know when to buy and sell and trade, and then you do it in
it's right now it's sort of just a helpful guide in a way to give you indicators and signals
and a community and an avenue to set all these indicators and like that, and then use whatever other broker
exactly
platform you have to make
although I will say though I want to be able to do that. And so I actually the other day started working on like a system that pings other servers. So like it's called a webhook, and developers can use that to say, I'll send them, some code that says these things are starting, here's their price, here's when this is happening, and then they can do whatever they want with it. And I've been working on for a little bit an integration to auto trade things, to say just take these signals and just trade them and see what happens. More than likely what I'll probably do is implement that kind of behind the scenes for a bit, do it, and then have like, charts and graphs that say like, hey, our strategies and signals aren't just, numbers and data. Here's real money. Here's an account that's beating alpha. It's making X% of money everything, and use that as some sort of marketing, and or tool to show that it's working for people. Because, I have a little bit of integrity. I want to make sure that before I do anything like that, it'll work.
It's gonna work.
Yeah. So I'm throwing some money at that. Actually, it's not launched yet, but there's a new tool that makes it easier for people to find really good trades. And I've traded four of them, and so far all 4 of them have proved profitable so far. So it's working fairly well right now on trading some of like the top number 1 starting strategies today.
Nice.
And I don't even care what stock they are. Sometimes I'll just look at it. Okay, this isn't a penny stock. It looks like, I'll give it a quick analysis and then sort of pull a trigger, throw a little cash to it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, this is neat. Thank you thank you for coming on the show, Aaron. This was cool.
Thanks for having me. This has been fun.
Yeah.
This is my first time kind of doing a
Cool,
podcast. Mostly my brother does these things, so it's fun to.
Oh, cool. Well, we have to have you on again. So we definitely more to talk about. You know, there's definitely it's very deep.
Yes. I feel like we just scratched the surface.
Yeah, no, sounds great.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like the more Aaron talks, the more we need to get in on some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on. wallstreet.io/7. Check that out. And thank you guys for coming on the show. And thank you for tuning in. Here is your weekly motivational speech.
There's no difference between my humanness and your humanness. The only thing is, if you're trying to get there, you cannot stop believing in any way. No matter what anybody says, no matter what anybody tells you, you have to know it beyond knowing it. It is a feeling. When something is for you, this is how I knew it was for me. When something's for you, there's a feeling that is deep down inside of you that will not allow you to let it go. It will keep you going when you can't even keep yourself going, a place where even dreams believe. Because there comes a time in your life where you've worked and you've stressed and you tried to get there and you couldn't on your own, but you have a dream. And that dream has to take on the belief for you because you can't do it by yourself.